All right. Welcome to Product Book Club. And it's officially the 10th book of the 52-week journey that we've been having. I'm super excited that this is a significant milestone in the Product Book Club. That means for 10 weeks consistently, 10 books have been reviewed and they have been going out to the YouTube channel. You can look up as Product Book Club, or productbook.club is our domain name. You can look up there as well. We've had a lot of fun, lot of reviewers, and I want to give a special shout out to a few reviewers who have come back consistently for certain books. So one of them is here, Shubham, say hi. Thanks so much for reviewing quite a bit of books. I know for a fact that you've done. Yeah, and congrats on coming back for the 10th book again. Thank you so much for the journey with us. Yeah.
Thank you, Madhuri. Thank you for the mention.
Awesome. Nice. So what are we reviewing today? We are reviewing Hooked. It's a cult classic read by everybody in the product industry, whether you want to build products or not. It's a great classic too. And it gives you a peek into what exactly happens in modern products these days. As they say, there are a few concentrated minds that are working to make you hooked to the devices that you are owning right now, a Mac, a MacBook, a PC, a phone, an Android phone, whatever it is. It's a few concentrated minds that have come together to make you hooked. So we will learn those principles today. So before we begin, I just want to introduce you to what exactly happens behind the scenes, and I'll take 2 minutes before handing it off to the sprinters. After Hooked, we're going to review a set of books. So you can see that week 11 and week 12 are coming up next, and the following weeks are also added in. You can go and look up the next and upcoming books in productbook.club, our domain, website domain, where you can actually see and participate in future domains as well. So what happens here? We present 10 ideas under 30 minutes, which essentially means that reviewers have spent 2 weeks reading this and distilling it down to the 10 big ideas you can learn from. Best way is to read, but even best way is to listen to collective minds who have read it and put it together. Not just me, I have followed this method for quite a bit of time. I have seen this work wonders. Even if you read on your own, distilling 10 points will add wonders to your articulation skills, your storytelling, and finally understanding the concepts. So over to you, sprinters. Good luck. Let's get started in presenting the Hooked. Gitesh, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We want to kickstart by starting why did we choose Hooked, and what's the model about? We know or read quite a lot about habits, how important they are, and so-called atomic and micro habits these days. This week, we want to touch upon habit formation and the neurological process involved in the same. This book, Hitesh, next slide. This book generally revolves around 4 concepts. Trigger, which is involved in pushing to the action which leads to the reward, and again, rewards leading to the investment. And this is an infinite loop. Just think about any habit you have formed. This is the process which goes on in your mind. And even if you're attempting to start any new habit, this is the process which will be followed internally. The hook model is useful for building habit forming products. The framework can become a vital competitive advantage, ensuring that products are rooted in consumer insights and answer real user needs. Like how Madhuri mentioned, some of the instruments such as Mac, iPhone, some apps such as WhatsApp are distilled and created keeping this in mind. Today, we have our sprinters coming across and reviewing this book. Let me introduce you to the team. We have Shubham, Ganesh, myself, and Jitesh. Over to Jitesh for the first idea.
Yeah, yes, Ganesh. Yeah, so firstly, good evening all, and my name is Ganesh. So before we get into things, we all know that for every problem there are hundreds of solutions. For hundreds of solutions, we have thousands and lakhs of products. So every product is trying to compete to come into our home. Every product wanted to get bought by us. So for doing that, what are they trying to do? What are those products are trying to grab our attention, and what are they trying to ensure that we are going to buy that particular product? So before we get into the behavioral aspects, or the action, the purchasing and all, what is the first thing anyone would do? So firstly, uh, next slide please. So firstly, the products are trying to introduce themselves to us, saying like, hey, I'm so and so product, and I hope I will be more useful for you, in whatever the problem we have. So there are multiple triggers we have. So coming to the trigger is nothing but introducing product itself to the users, that I am existing in this world, so please look at me and please think about me, so please take some action towards me. So that's what they're trying to do. So the first and foremost thing what the products, or the product managers or the entrepreneurs trying to do is they introduce the product to ourselves, either through the pay trigger, which means they invest a lot of money to trigger that particular product. For example, advertisement, which we generally watch in televisions or in YouTube or any other platform. That is the direct form of paid trigger. And the one more direct form of paid trigger is search engine marketing. The moment you search some course in the Google, the moment you type data science, for suppose as a keyword, or data science course, so you would get these two results in the first place. So IIT Madras, Intellipaat, and Simply Learn. So what are they trying to say is, we are selling these particular courses, so please have a look at our course. So that's what they're trying to do, and it involves a lot of money around it. So which we generally call it as a paid trigger. And the next trigger we have is earned trigger. So in this trigger, companies do not invest directly into this particular trigger, but they try to invest their time, their money directly a little bit into the PR. So, which is public relations, basically, through the events, through news events. For suppose they're trying to get some attention in the space of news agencies or news articles through newspapers, or television news, etc. and all. So indirectly they're trying to trigger about their particular product, which we call it as a earned trigger. And the next trigger is the most important trigger, is nothing but the relationship trigger. So relationship trigger is mouth publicity, basically. So the great products are usually fall into this relationship trigger. If the product is so great that definitely they no need to spend much on the advertising. They no need to spend much on the PR, etc. and all. So if you find the product is so good, definitely you will go to your parents, or you go to you talk to your colleagues, your friends, your cousins, etc. Right? As someone said, if you want to make someone believe, firstly, make them as your friend. Because if your friend says something, definitely you're going to believe than any internet, or any other article says, right? So relationship trigger is nothing but it's a mouth publicity. So which is the most important, and it's a viral trigger. Every entrepreneur or a businessman usually crave for this particular kind of trigger. So this is a relationship trigger. And the last trigger we have is on the trigger. So on the trigger is nothing but basically, unless you accept to have that particular trigger, it won't come to you. So how does it work? If you subscribe, if you found some website which is very interesting, for suppose we'll talk about some sports website, or otherwise you have found some technology website which you are interested in. Until unless you subscribe to their newsletter, they cannot send, or they do not send that particular notification to you. So it's you yourself inviting, please send me some information about your particular product or service. So that is how we generally get the notifications in our mobile or our email itself. So this is called on trigger, and so the next is internal triggers. So Tejasvi.
Sorry. Next big idea which I'm going to talk about is internal triggers, a trigger to begin using the product. Habit forming technologies, anyway, we spoke about sending in alerts, external triggers, paid triggers, and all of that. But internal trigger, when it is coming to that, it comes from you, from within. Let's talk about an example. Cycling, for an example, is a continuous hook for some of the folks. Exercising also, reading as well. Why is it so? Because it creates some internal pleasure for us to overcome our overcome some inhibitions, certainly. So for example, internal triggers like cycling gives a dopamine effect. For me, when I'm on a very stressed day, I have an internal trigger of, okay, I know I would get dopamine and I will feel active and better when I go for cycling. So that ways I prefer cycling, and that becomes as a routine and the habit for me. Next slide. Yeah, this internal trigger in parallel to it creates a routine. How does it create a routine? Internal trigger, we know the effect of it, it is falling in the brain. And then comes the routine part of it. We try to do it often because we know the benefit we come out of it. And then after that routine, it becomes a habit once we do it continuously. Habits are always to be made because it is through choice of our time and the investment of and ability to do it. Next comes the big idea of action. How do you satisfy your trigger? By acting on it. Next slide. Yeah, having the motivation to act and the ability to do it. Let me pull out an example. These days on LinkedIn, next slide. These days on LinkedIn, we're seeing a lot of engagement on accelerator programs. Why did LinkedIn come out of this program? They have curated this in order to increase the engagement on the platform. For example, we see a lot of people writing, we read on it, we also get motivated. That's an internal trigger, motivated to write and also increase an engagement on the platform. And there comes the output of us writing through it. I would like to pick up one more example, which is in our daily lives. The art and science of usability design to ensure the user acts the way the designer intends. We all do exercise, at least most of us do. So imagine yourself running on a treadmill. When you're running on a treadmill, just imagine that there is no count of calories. There are no steps counted on your watch, or you're just running. Does this create a motivation to you? Do you try to push yourself even more? Even if you push for it, how long will it push? I would give 5 seconds for you guys to give it a thought. So there is a reason why do we have these screens in front of us. One, and why is the gym with all the mirrors all around? When you see the calories burnt, when you see yourself sweating, it also motivates you to do it more and get into a habit of doing it and create a routine out of it. Yeah, over to the next big idea.
Thank you, Tejasvi. Thank you, Ganesh. Hi, everyone. So before introducing the next big idea, I would like to introduce myself using this case study. So hi, everyone. Meet Gitesh, version 1.0, August 2022. So Gitesh is 29 years old, and he has barely completed reading about 3 books in his lifetime, which amounts to a grand total of 0.008 books per month. He never thought of reading a book as an avenue to kill boredom. So whenever he wanted to, entertain himself or gather some knowledge, he would usually, end up spending time on Netflix or YouTube or, such platforms to, resort to such platforms rather than reading a book. So the reading a book was never in his consideration set. So life was, pretty not very ideal 2 months before. So yes, this happened in August, and I think many of us can relate to this image. And I'll just let couple of seconds to let this image sink in with all you guys. So yes, when Product Book Club came, it was an awakening for me, and actually, it helped me a lot in my future days. So yeah, so the big idea that I want to talk about here is about how to drive behaviors. So we all know that the hooked model is around creating habit forming products, and habit is formed through repeated behavior. The more we do some behavior, the more likely it becomes a chance of converting it into a habit. So how do you create a behavior? Is there some kind of equation or some kind of formula to create a behavior? So turns out that there is. So this simple equation is called as B is equal to MAT. So B is behavior, and MAT stands for motivation into ability into trigger. So these are the three key ingredients that are required for to drive a particular behavior in the most efficient manner. So I'll be taking the example of the product book club, and how these three ingredients are very nicely placed into this initiative, so that the behavior part has been executed. So yes, so talking about the first part of it, the first ingredient, which is motivation. So you must be relating to this screenshot that I've shared on the group, that, on the slide, that you know uh, whenever we are down, or whenever someone puts up a message saying that my reading speed is slow, what should I do? And they're very insecure about their including me, that we have not read books, we are non-readers, so how can we read a non-fiction book, 52 books a year? So that is something which that is very valid from people's point of view. But messages like what Karthi sends, and even other group members, when they share their thing, there's a sense of motivation that drives in the group. There is some kind of motivation key. Okay, the spirit of the group does not die, and the community helps you pick up that book and read. So no matter where the motivation is coming from, it need not be the company CEO sitting and telling that, motivating you. It can also be your community who is saying that, okay, you pick up this book. So that is I think really beautifully executed here. Now talking about the next ingredient, which is ability. So ability, again, in our journey, I'll keep the WhatsApp chats in the center, because that is everywhere. Like that's the key place where all the things are happening, all the communication is happening. So on our WhatsApp group, again, you will find Karthi saying that, sharing tips and tricks, how do you read better? And not just Karthi, but even other people are sharing their tips and tricks on how to read better, how to I mean, make reading easier for people who are non-readers. So earlier it used to be very difficult for me to even spend 20 30 pages reading 20 30 pages. But once the power of community came in, the ability also increased. So just to clarify, ability in this case does not, like, it is different from usability. When I talk about ability here, it's, I mean, if we look at it that way, that I'm a literate person and I'm able, like, I have the ability to read the book. So that is not the case. Like, that is not the meaning of ability in this case. I am a literate person, I can read a book, but having that kind of uh, ability to read, I mean, to go through it in a simple manner, to have the right tips and tricks to read it, that is what we mean by ability here. So that has been driven really beautifully through this club. And yeah, coming on to the third part, which is trigger. So as Tejasvi and Ganesh spoke about the trigger part of it. So there are external and internal triggers. So what hooked model says is that once, like, so the brand starts with some external triggers at the right time. So so there are triggers in the morning, like there will be some kind of motivational message that you have to crush the day's pomodoro. So that is really, so that is timed in the morning, because that is most likely to resonate with your internal trigger. So that is like timing your external trigger, so that timing your external trigger to in a manner that it matches with the internal trigger. So in a way, we have to think what the consumer must be thinking at this point, and we have to send them a message. So Zomato sends us message, 8 p.m.ish or something, that, are you hungry or you want to eat something? Or maybe at 11:30 they will put in a notification saying that, are you in for a midnight snack or something? So those are the triggers. Those are the external triggers that they try to match with their internal triggers. So these are the things, or like in our case, it's like the accountability for the day messages. So these serve as external triggers, as reminders that, okay, you have a book to read and you have to complete it. So these were the three key ingredients from the B is equal to MAT model. Now let's meet Gitesh again, version 2.0, October 22. Right. So now he has completed 5 books in 60 days. It's been 2 months since he has been a part of this club. 2.5 books per month. So that is like, if we look at it from my point of view, it is 300x plus improvement, which is like, it might not be, so reading 2 books a month might not be a great deal for others, but it is like, from a personal standpoint, it's quite an improvement. And the biggest change that I feel is that I now consider reading a book. So reading is not this thing now. So the main point here is that to drive any behavior and to make it into a habit, these 3 ingredients of motivation, ability, and trigger is a must. So here's the equation for you guys. In order to drive any behavior, the user must have sufficient motivation, the user must have the ability to complete the desired action, and a trigger must be present to activate the behavior. So yeah, that's all about the behavior part of it. On to the next presenter on to Shubham for explaining the variable rewards part. Thank you.
Thank you, Gitesh. Hi, everyone. So now you understood the trigger part of it and the action of it, how this hook model is working. So now the next part is how you like what keeps you like motivated to like continue the habit of this trigger and action must be continued to some extent. So rewards come into the picture, and how is happening, like these signs of rewards. So let me explain you in the next big idea. But before that, I want to ask you one question. Like, have you wondered why we post? Like, post in the sense, recently, have you posted anything on FB or Insta? So what happens behind this all, like the posting and doing this stuff? So let's go. Yeah. So meet Melissa. Let's just I want to personify this thing. Like, meet Melissa, who's like flaunting her Paris travel she just had, and it might give you some kind of FOMO, like looking at her picture, the kind of vibe she's enjoying there, and the like comments, share, the views she's getting. And you started somehow you started relating to her, like in a way, and you're kind of admiring her, even if she's very unknown to you, and just you hooked onto her like profile and you're just getting into the move. So you started even like admire her, like, how, wow, what kind of life she's like enjoying. Eventually you might be following her, or maybe check her post now and then. And on the other side, from the Melissa side, on the other side, it's like all these likes, shares, and comments. It's like a booster dose for her. So maybe like because of these extra likes, extra hearts, she investing in her hair treatment of something, elaborating every sort of like flavor from her for her life, just because of these kind of social attributes to which kind of impact her life, and even the impact as an onlooker or the viewer. So overall, the brain, like our brain, are adapted to seek these kind of rewards that make us feel accepted, maybe attractive, and being important, and most importantly, included in the society. So these kind of social rewards can kind of bring like all sorts of things for us. And let me give you one more example. Like, this is Michael. This is a Stack Overflow profile, where all the programmers or coders like tend to ask questionnaire, like just like something like Quora for coders, especially, where the moment you answer these queries and you start sharing your codes, people will implement that code and they give you some reputation marks. So you can see that number 32,483 reputations. So that means you're socially very active. And on this particular platform, these many people have like shows your technical credibility, and you are earning some kind of respect in your peers in the community. So as a user, the Michael is like giving like enjoying helping other people, and also earning some kind of respect from the people whose opinions are the key value for them. And maybe even the job recruiters follow this kind of profile very seriously, and they take directly, okay, what is the reputation? So in a way, yeah, next slide, please. So in a way, this all, so this is called as reward for the tribe, where people observe the overall behavior of same kind of people, or might like themselves, or slightly more experienced people, kind of a like gain like some kind of role model to them, like Melissa and maybe this Michael. So that's tend to give them the same kind of like demographic interest, like this segmentation and interest level of segmentation they use, like FB and these people like apply these kind of segmentation to like engross you there. Okay, moving on to second, like next big idea is again for the from the reward, but this is something different. So let me give you a different perspective. Next slide. So do you know what is persistent hunting, or maybe endurance hunting, or just hunting by running? It's a very good correlation which author talks about in the book. So let me explain you if just let me pause for 10 seconds if somebody has a clue in the chat. Okay, so let me explain. Go to the next slide. So this is all about hunting, a very primitive kind of hunting. Like the oldest way of hunting is like even when this bow and arrow does not exist, how they hunt. So they hunt by like make this particular animal. This animal is Kudo. His name is just give me one. And these are called sands hunters. So this what they do, they just keep on like baga baga ke marne wali, that technique, where they just keep on chasing this animal, and at the last he give up because they dissipate heat and they don't know how to like run. But this guy is like slowly he's running sometimes just to make him continuously run for 10 hours, and at the end he just give up. He just at the end they just cut a minor nerve somewhere with us, poke the nerve, and they will hunt this thing. And this, in the exactly same way, this is happening with us, where we keep on scrolling things, and like Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook feed, you just keep on some further. Like earlier we used to hunt for like the food, but here you just keep on some kind of resource or maybe information with the slightest clue, like with the hint of a small image, you just scroll, and maybe you want to take a break for 10 minutes, but it's finally, if you realize, it is almost like more than 10 minutes, maybe even hours you spend keep on scrolling for the quest of information. Next slide, please. So as I said, as this is called as reward for hunt, where once we hunted for food, and today we hunt for other things like next slide. Like this is a hunt for variable rewards in terms of resources, or it can be information. Classic examples are Twitter, slot machines, where they tend to engage with you numbers games. Similarly, the same technique Craig is using in his gamification, where you keep on switching the numbers and you get all the confetti effect, and you got some rewards and points. And the last idea is again from the reward thing, but this is a different kind of reward. Let me ask you, I'll give you one more scenario here. You all must relate to it. Okay. So how many of you played this Candy Crush thing? It's a very simple game where you need to crush the candies, and it's somehow habitual. You just even like cross the levels and level and on and on and on. And this company like they have given like this is the most successful gaming platform and the most simplest platform in the gaming industry. And yeah, next slide. So what is happening? The moment you level up, the kind of like you gain some special powers in the game, you tend to like intensify your playing like intentions. Like you grab your attention. So all these rewards like motivates you now and then, and they are very playing very much on your mind. And even a classic example is next slide is email, where when you see there are like notable amount of unread email, you just tend to finish them on one slot, whether it take you 1 hour, like 100 to read unread email. So the same thing is playing, and that is what is called as reward for self, where they fuel. Can you go to the next slide? So the whole thing, this is reward for self, the whole thing fueled by your intrinsic motivation, where people desire among the other things to gain and sense the competency or the sense of completion. So yeah, that's it from my side. And yes, if this whole gimmickry of rewarding in terms of self with some mystery and magic tricks, it will be more enticing. So yeah, thank you from my side.
Thank you, Shubham. Hi. Yes. Yes. So before we move on to the next idea, so I just wanted to check with the group if they remember going to the Mela and playing this game, playing this ring game, where you put in something and you win something. So I'm sure, like most of us, it's a sweet childhood memory that I have. So I decided to use this example. So just imagine that you are playing this game and you win, let's say, a Parle-G biscuit packet, right? You win this packet, and now you have it. Now in the same Mela, there is a random person who is coming to you and just simply handing over the Parle-G packet to you. Now, I'll just give you 5 seconds. Think about it. You have option 1 as the Parle-G biscuit that you have won, and option 2, the Parle-G biscuit packet that someone else has given to you for no apparent reason, just out of goodwill, just like that. So, which one would you value more? Option 1, the one that you have won, or option 2, the one that you have just received? So just wait for 5 seconds here. All right. All right. Yeah. Cool. So chances are that we are going to, probably value the one that we have won, that we have put in some effort. So the next big idea, it says that the more users invest time and effort into a product or service, the more they tend to value it. So, the idea is to tell the users that the more time and effort you invest, the product will get better at it. So how is this sentence different from the previous sentence? I'll just take it again here. The more they, the more time they invest, the more they value it. And why will they value it? Because the product will get better with time. So it can be a psychological state of mind that both the Parle-Gs being the same also, but it just the thing that you won, maybe it just tastes a little better in our minds. Like it can be a state of psychological state of mind as well. So it's just that the product will get better with use. So when we are using effort in this context, when we are saying that you need to put in time and effort so that you value the product. Now coming to the product, like in our industry, like in the software industry or the software products industry, we say that the user experience must be effortless and you should expect minimum effort from the user side. Now that holds absolutely true. You should not confuse effort in this context with the effort with the user experience point of view. In this context, what you're trying to say is that efforts is it's like bits of work that the consumer has to put in for an enhanced experience. So I'll just give you a quick example. Now let's say you're watching a movie on Netflix and you want to pause for a moment, and as soon as you pause it, you get this notification or you get this option, like whether you're enjoying this title or not, and you have to put in some effort to go there and put in your rating, like, okay, I'm liking this, or I'm not liking this, or I'm loving this. So the effort that Netflix is expecting from our side is that tell us whether you're liking it or not, and then we will give you better content recommendations. So in exchange of our effort, the reward that we are getting is a more cleaner or a more relatable content recommendation feed. So these are like bits of work that that we can we should place at the right moment, at the right time, which should not be intrusive, which should not force the users to do something. So these are the kind of small efforts that we should probe the users to take, so that their experience gets better. So they have to see that reward before taking the effort. So the same example can be used for Spotify or or like apps like these, where, or LinkedIn, where they tell you, okay, you are a advanced profile now. Let's move, complete these 3 steps to move to an all-star profile. So these are the small efforts that the company asks us to make, so that we are more likely to do it. And then once we do it, we are more likely to have to value that platform. So that also brings me to my next idea, which is idea number 9, the stored value. So now, like in the previous idea, we discussed about efforts leading to users valuing the product more. Now, why would they value? Because there is some kind of stored value. I'm sorry. So the stored value users put in the product increases the likelihood they will use it again in the future. So according to this, there is some kind of stored value. Now let's take example of YouTube. So stored value can be of different forms. So let's take a stored value in the form of content. Now we all spend time on YouTube, and YouTube has a great recommendation system. Like they I mean, at what time of the day, what recommendation to give, it knows perfectly. So maybe I'm watching the TV, and I short up. I just blow up YouTube on my screen, and I see that, okay, I'm getting recommendation for new movie trailers. So YouTube knows me, and that is a kind of stored value for me. So now I don't have, and I know that I've spent so much time with YouTube. That's why YouTube knows me so well. So now if I move to a different platform, it will be like a complete another journey for that platform to understand me, to give me the similar kind of content recommendations. So the chances for me to switch to a different platform would drop, would drastically drop. I will stay with YouTube. Now next form of stored value could be followers. So this person is saying that I've worked very hard for garnering my 100K followers. Now Instagram is my full-time career. Now switching from Instagram to a different platform for getting followers, like even if it is Twitter, or even if it is like a big giant like YouTube or something, most likely you will not find same influencers on different platforms. You there is like there will be one primary platform where that influencer will be most dominant. Like either they will be on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. So wherever they have the most followers, that platform will become their home ground. Like there they will spend the most time, and it will be very unlikely that they will move to a different platform, learn their algorithm, learn everything from their side, and then again gain followers. So this is again a form of a stored value. Then we have something called as reputation. So we have, so similar to Shubham's example on Stack Overflow, that there was that online reputation that this person has so and so number of thousands of reviews and ratings. So similar kind of reputation, like it's also a stored value. So if I'm on a platform and I have like excellent ratings, I'm either a super host on Airbnb, or I am someone who's like an Uber driver with 6 stars, 6-star rating, and or maybe I'm like a LinkedIn user who's a part of the accelerator program. So all these are part of reputation. It applies to everyone, from us to people working like Zomato delivery partners. So there they are like sir rating de dena. So this is like very important for people to stay to the platform. Then we have skill. So once we learn some a particular software, we are very unlikely to move to a different software, because we have spent time and effort to learn. Let's say if we're taking example of Figma, if we are learning Figma, we have spent some time, we have taken some courses, we have watched some YouTube videos to learn that. So that is something that now we will not move to Adobe XD or Adobe Illustrator. We'll be like, okay, now my loyalty is with Figma because I know Figma the best. I know people who are very loyal to Adobe Illustrator even today, like to Adobe Illustrator and Adobe XD for their UX design needs. So that is something that they have stored value in Adobe XD and Illustrator, because they have learned that, and अब उनका हाथ बैठ चुका है उस प्लेटफॉर्म पे. So now it will be very unlikely that they will move to Figma or something, unless very drastic change comes, some sort of a revolution comes. So yeah, that's all about the stored value part of it. So the more the stored value is there for the user, the more likely it is, it becomes unlikely that the user will switch to a different platform. Yes, Ganesh, over to you. Ganesh, you're on mute. Ganesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. So till now we have learned multiple things, starting from trigger, action, buying behaviors, etc. and all. So in the process of achieving, or in the process of making your product or service successful, so there is a thin line between the morality and immorality for that matter. So we have seen few instances that people have become so much addicted to the product or the service, and it costs their some lives or health or the mental status also. And there was this one survey in USA says that, so at least more than 30 to 40% people are willing to give up their sex life than the smartphone. And the teenagers in US, they're spending at least 5 hours per day in the social media itself, are more likely to have the mental depression in the coming days. So yes, the product should be successful, but at the cost of what? So this is where the author is trying to come up with the manipulation matrix. So we'll go to the next slide. uh, yeah, so if you see, there are two components majorly we have. One thing, whether the customer or the user uh, is getting help, or or we can say whether the product or service improves the user's life or not. And the second thing, the maker of the product is using that particular product or not. So these are the four scenarios we have. And starting from the first thing, let's talk about the facilitator first. So who is the facilitator? Next slide, please. So facilitator is basically what are the product he or she makes that actually helps the customer. It actually improves the user's life. And facilitator is also uses that particular product. So this category, we call it as a facilitator. So I'll give an example. So why we call it as a facilitator? So I'm sure, have you, anyone of you recognize this person? Okay, so he's the founder of Physics Wala. Basically, it's a new tech, and it also became the unicorn. It's a 101 unicorn of India. So why I'm quoting this particular example? So the facilitator is someone who goes through the journey of the customer. He knows end to end the nuances, the pain points, experiences of the customer. Based on those particular insights and experiences, he builds the product. So, and he also uses that particular product. So that is how we call it as a facilitator. So the guy who is in front of us is the founder. So he's from the middle class, or we can say poor family, and their parents couldn't afford much to his education. So he started telling tuitions since his 8th class or 9th class. Since then, he's keep on teaching the students in his particular area. So he knows what are the pain points of the poor or middle class students. From that particular experiences, he has founded, and he also got an offer from some other tech firm, 40 crore per annum, but he didn't take it because he knew that he can create something which is actually useful for the students. That is how he founded the Physics Wala. So we can call him as a facilitator. And coming to the next category, we call it as a peddler. So the product, as which has been created by the product owner, material improves the user's life, but the maker does not use it. So what is the problem we have here? If you do not use your product, if you do not use your service, you never know what is the pain points that actually the customer is feeling. Most of the times you go by your assumptions, thinking that this product is going to help your user or customer. That is how you go. In this particular scenario, the maker lacks empathy. If you do not have the empathy, and there is a high probability that your product is going to fail. So this is the peddler category, and the next category is uh, entertainer. So it does not improve users' life, and but the maker uses this product or service. So basically, this component falls under the arts or entertainment theme. Either it could be a book or movie or song or a video game, whatever it is. So if you go to the next slide, so we have an example. All of us have, I think most of us have played this Angry Birds game, right? So this is the one product that has come from one particular company. Over the period of time, we played, we enjoyed, but we maximum maybe we would enjoy for maybe few months, max to max, if the product is successful. After that, what happens? There are few other products which comes into the market, video games, and we lose interest. We lose interest in this particular thing. The same thing applies to even song also, and the book or whatever in terms of art form. There is a high probability that the product will go away over the period of time. So this is where this entertainment part comes up. And the last thing we have is dealer. So dealer is, it does not improve user's life, and the maker also does not use it. So for example, we have one example in the next slide, which is, let's talk about the casino for suppose. So what happens with the casino? There is if 100 people using, or go and place the casino, the majority of the people are going to lose the money, for sure. And it causes, there's a lot of financial, impact on people's lives. And there is one more example. Let's talk about the drug dealer. So drug dealer, the substance he gives, there's a lot of demand for drugs, but the demand for the drugs is which is not good for the society or not good for that particular user. But if you are conscious enough, what is the right way to choose? If you are confused whether I'm doing correct or not, after all, we are the human beings and we are prone to the addiction of our, our psychological behaviors. So while making any of your products, so please think about this particular 4 quadrants, and you'll get the better clarity on how to go ahead about it. So this is it from our side.